Thank you very much, Richmond, and welcome. I want to welcome everybody, our panelists, to this session. Guys, we need to be mindful that there's an energy transition going on, and the PIB and legislation needs to enable and maximize value. But we have complex interests in our country, and we have to work together to make it happen. The key to increasing our GDP is gas. So, I mean, this really sets the stage, and we have less than an hour to deal with these issues. We have a very smart and articulate panel, and I would like to kick it off straight away with 5 minutes comments, opening comments from each of the panelists. I'll start with you, Audrey, if you don't mind, on the topic crystallizing value maximization, if you like, through the PIB legislation. Audrey, just for opening comments, and if you want me to give you some questions, I have a lot of questions to give you, but just some opening comments. Thank you very much, Audrey. That's a really, really interesting stimulation. I don't know if I can swing to Taj. Taj, Nigeria is not attracting investment. I mean, the presentation by Okechukwu was very clear. I mean, it should be, with all the reserves we have, but it's not happening. How can the PIB help this situation? I mean, this is really critical now. I mean, $4 billion compared to $70 billion investments in Africa alone. What's going on? Can the PIB help? Thank you very much, Taj, for that really thought-provoking commentary. Bolaji, I'm going to talk to you now. Really, you know, you're front and center in the gas business. I mean, recently the federal government talked about auto gas as a transformational tool. There was a network code which the NGA championed. Now, how does the PIB, Bolaji, how does the PIB play in all of this? I mean, if someone wants to go into the auto gas business, where does he find gas? You know, who does he talk to? You know, it just seems like you know, the more you look, the less you understand. You know. Can you share some comments in this area and any other comments you have? Thank you very much, Bolaji, for that great contribution. You know, I think it's been very interesting conversation so far. Audrey, I'm going to come back to Audrey, and then Adeoye, just hold on some of the comments. You know, Audrey, there's been this common theme in the conversation so far, what I call the OMILT theme. Oga, manage it like that. You know, when it comes to the PIB, you know, it's not the best, but let's just manage it like that. Now, how do we get gas going? You know, within the context of the PIB, there's some specific steps within this manage it like that PIB. You know, how can we really create a viable value chain in gas? Because everybody seems to have this idea that gas is the next big thing, but the how seems to be missing. You know, there's a fair amount of frustration with players who are in that sector, as you well know. How do you think we can take advantage of this atmosphere to get gas going? Audrey, thank you, man. Well, you know, Adeoye, I'm coming to you now. You know, you talked about the fact that there are complex interests in our industry, and we need to work together. Right now, the PIB provides for splitting up the regulatory bodies into three: upstream, midstream, and downstream. There's a fair amount of overlap because there are very few standalone gas projects, as it were. How much of dispute resolution or mediation is there? Not just between contracting parties, because I mean, Audrey talked about sanctity of contracts. But even with the regulator, today, I don't know what your experience is, but from all intents and purposes, the regulator is the judge and the jury, and they just, that's it. You just can't go anywhere else. So what happens now with the PIB for an investor? Is there some greater comfort? How do we align all these complex interests, particularly between agencies? Yes, thank you very much. It's very interesting. Taj. you know,
Emeka, but just to quickly say, there's still the federal court process.
Yeah, interesting that you raised this point. Now that will take us into another realm. You know, are you bold enough, courageous enough to take the regulator to court? Those are the issues now that we begin to delve into. And then if you do that, are you going to be guaranteed that they can move at oil industry speed to resolve an issue? So in a way, it kind of heads you lose, tails you win, or heads you lose, tails you lose, as the case may be. But that's an interesting comment, Apology. But I mean, since you're talking about this, let's look at the issue of cost, industry costs of operations. I mean, the bottom line is that the Nigerian oil industry and the gas industry is probably one of the highest in terms of the cost profile, and you can easily allude it to all the reasons: security, pandemic, recession, all that stuff, militancy, vandalization. But there's something that is front and center in the PIB, which is all the taxes and duplicity of taxes. It's been mentioned here, and almost that we're getting to the taxation fatigue type of arrangement. Taj, I don't know, how can the PIB address this? I mean, is this something that we can look at least solve one part of the complex equation? Taj, thank you very much. You talked about this this whole idea of milking the cow or harvesting the golden eggs, through taxation. It's very interesting that you say that. Bolaji, please. There were some very, very interesting questions that have come up in the Q&A. Again, talking about incentives for switching to gas. You talked about the infrastructure fund. You are a practitioner, and I know you've had to deal with how to raising massive amounts of investment in projects, that are ongoing. What would you say? What kind of strategy do you think that we can derive in terms of incentivizing the industry, the gas industry? We can talk about the PIB, but we need to speak up, as it were, from what you said earlier. We need to speak up and embrace and convince the policymakers that indeed we need to step out of the way to deliberately grow, for example, the auto gas or NGV industry. It doesn't happen by organic means. What would you say would be a strategy that's viable for Nigeria as a country? Well, don't go away. There was a question from an anonymous contributor about the issue of funding of the regulators. If they are supposed to be self-funding, then the fundamental performance metric, the KPI for them, will be how much money they generated from government. And then we fall into this trap of trying to create pseudo taxes and so that they can milk this cow. So what's the take? Is it, and this, if they're 100% self-funding, then we are snookered, because it means that the goose is all that's where they're going to be harvesting the eggs. Thank you very much. We have about 2 minutes to go. This has been a very engaging session. Okay, that's an interesting concept. Yeah, at least a service level agreement with the industry to deliver on how they spend the money. That's excellent. Now we have about a minute or two to finish. Now there's something that we haven't talked about, which is the AFTA, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We have literally 10 seconds each for each of the panelists. Is this an opportunity, or is it just a pipe dream? Do we see the AFCTA as an opportunity for the Nigerian oil and gas industry? In what way? Just very quickly. Audrey, can you take that off? And then we just run all the way through. That's a good one. Okay, Taj, please. Thank you so much. The thing is that the NGA has decided that this has been such an interesting exercise. They're giving us an extra 5 or 10 minutes. Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Thank you very much. All right. So because now the thing is this, now we're talking of the AFTA. and we are saying it's a future opportunity. But this thing has been signed off, and it's kicking off Q1 of 2021. We're out of time. What do we do? Are we going to be flooded by, sorry to say, Chinese and other country products overnight? Literally next quarter, we're going to be faced with AFCTA. What do we do? What can NGA, what can the industry do to manage it like that? Audrey, thank you so much. We had such an awesome time together. I think from the comments, it's really been a good conversation. There's this adage that you don't use spit to take a bath when you live beside a river, and the theme that is all across board is the fact that we seem to be using the spit, our own spit, to take baths. Meanwhile, we all live beside a big river. Thank you so much for your contributions, and thank you for NGA for hosting this platform. Richmond, back to you.